All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for streamlining client cleanup projects using the Client Experience 2.0 method. So I'm really excited to have Michelle Vilms here. Um, we have a really very exciting presentation that she's honed over the last couple of years. And so we've got a big crowd here today. So please use the Q&A for asking questions so that I can make sure I queue them up for Michelle. And Michelle, I'm going to go ahead and go on mute and turn the mic over to you.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining on this afternoon. Today we're going to talk about streamlining cleanup projects using the Client Experience 2.0 method. If you haven't seen that out on the airways before, that is relating Liscio and QBO and how they work really well together to really do these cleanup projects. And so we're going to use those as our points of reference as we go through the presentation. I want you to think about cleanup projects in a different way. Have you realized that they're an excellent way to get great ongoing clients? And so sometimes we don't look to the future. I want you to think about how they can be profitable, how you can work people through the process. And we're going to teach through a standardized process, great technology, and some ideas on how you might convert people that you really enjoy working with to other services that you offer in your firm. All right, so let's get started. There you go. So that's me, Michelle Vilms, founder of Vilms Consulting here in downtown Boston, Massachusetts. I own an accounting firm that we do accounting software training, advisory. We teach people about their workflows. You can see there, this year I was voted again top 50 women in accounting. We enjoy our work, and the true purpose is that I am in business to create a meaningful impact on how businesses operate. And the best way to do that is to have great books. And it helps you make decisions and run your companies. And so we really are driven by that in my firm. 90% of the projects that we work on that are cleanup projects really do result in ongoing work in some form or another. And so today, I just want to begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey, one of his principles of highly successful people, and my end in mind for cleanup projects is that the client who's come to us frazzled leaves feeling comfortable with what they received back and how to use it. Now, whether they want to continue doing it themselves is a different story. So let's see how this turns out. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about the business opportunities, developing the process. Before you can develop any process, you're going to have to talk about the hurdles. Then we're going to talk about the 3 stages. And I think if you break them out that way, it'll help you develop your own process. And then which are the best engagements to maybe convert these into their own. So let's start with the cleanup projects themselves. So here's a little activity part for you during the presentation is if you can think about the cleanup projects that you've done. Oftentimes when I meet with people, they would say a common phrase, Michelle, you don't understand. We're different. So you may think about cleanup projects and say, Michelle, we cannot standardize them. They're all different. Is that true? Because there are many commonalities on how you can make them standardized. So you want to really think about that. And so if you could just start to think about the cleanup projects you've worked on, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, as we move through the presentation, it's going to help you think about how to finalize some standardization for your own practice. Did you like them? What kind did you do? And some of the opportunities that you can have. So our step for success is going to be to slow down in the process. That is the biggest one, is let's not jump right into the exciting part of cleaning up people's books, but to slow down and really get to understand what we're jumping into. We're going to talk about the hurdles. Then we're going to define the steps that are needed. And we're going to explain the process in regular terms. And we're going to make it easy for the clients with technology and process. So as we move through these steps, I'm going to ask you all to please keep an open mind about the approach while you're thinking about your own examples. because my way isn't the only way, but I hope that giving you the tools and the path, you're going to formulate some really great ideas for your own firm. So. I just want to go back one, I think right up here. So as you're moving through this, oops, I don't want you to be short-sighted, and I want you to understand before you get to the hurdles that there are 3 goals in mind. And the first one is that someone has come to you with a problem with their books, whether they can't file their taxes, they don't understand why they're putting all the information in and it's not working. You know, they put it all in, but they can't get it out the right way. They're frazzled. But my goal and your goal should be that they use QuickBooks and some of the Liscio tools to run their business. So let's help them out. Accurate books lead to actionable items. And vetting future potential clients can lead to a lot of ongoing work. So I just really want you to keep that in mind as we move through here. So when I say slow down the process, I want you to also think that when you're talking to clients, you are speaking from authority. And the more you can gain that trust in slowing down the process, asking some questions, and talking about some of the other cleanup projects you've done and what you see. We're going to go through that process because you're taking them on the journey that you really understand what you're doing. And here's a really strong one. We're going to talk in plain language, not accounting language. So, Allison, you may have one on this, but I have 2 words that I'm going to say, and I'm going to refer to them as accounting words, and you cannot use them when you're talking to a new client. You cannot say, "May I have your trial balance?" Like, what the heck is that? Right? Come on, man.
People are like,
Okay, so, and you're like, of course, everyone knows what that is.
No.
Does everyone on your team
No,
know what
they
a trial
don't.
balance is? But so
Clients
that
don't.
word, I want you to catch yourself when you say that to a client or someone who is not an accountant, because you need to say, could I look at your profit and loss statement? Or have you ever looked at your balance sheet? Language in this context is very important. So I throw that one in there. The other one that I've started practicing with is we're very quick to say reconciliation. What is that? We know what it is, and we know what the term means, and it is the real term. But I've started saying the reason what we do at the end of the month is verify data against an outside source. Much longer thing. It's not a comparable word. But I want you to think about those 2 things as we talk about the client experience and how they're viewing the accounting world and how you can really make an impact on being an operational accountant and really help these businesses move forward. Okay. And then, all right, so let's go to the common hurdles. So the common hurdle is trust. And so our role in the first meeting or second meeting, we know we're anxious we see how messy their books are and we want to clean them, is to get to know them, and get to know them by sharing your experience with stories, how much better it's going to be for them, and know that they're getting the value out of the money they're paying that they actually don't want to pay, right? It's like a sunk cost. They're like, I could use that money for more inventory, but now they have to have their books fixed. It's going to cost them money. And you need to build this rapport. And we are skipping over that as an industry. Not everyone, not, but we're going to get better at it. And we're going to talk to them a little bit more so that they understand why we're the experts in what we do. And I believe most of the people on this call, or everybody, spends a lot of time learning how to be better at this part of it. And we are really exceptional in what we do. So let's learn how to really improve the client experience. They're frustrated with QuickBooks. They don't know where all their documents are. How many people have you met? They don't even know that they should download their bank statements. They don't come in the mail anymore. So where are people saving them, and where are they? Can they log into their bank account? So we know all these hurdles that the clients have, and they're frustrated when you say, well, can you log into your bank? No, they can't. They don't know what they're doing. So I think it's our job to understand what their hurdles are going to be and be empathetic to that and plan that into our engagement on how we're going to help them get the information we need, which, by the way, earns trust and makes it move faster. So I think on that one. And then they're busy. This is not of interest to them at all. They haven't been able to get it to work. It needs to get done to do their taxes. They're not sure what the numbers say. So they are very uncomfortable with this process, and having a few touch points before you dive in are really, really important. So there's also hurdles on the in-house, and then we'll stop after this and maybe take a couple questions if there's any. So the in-house hurdles are relative to the kind of firm that you are. So I am a 100% remote firm. I have people in 2 different states and no one meets in an office, right? So how are they going to get the information to do the work? So that's a hurdle if you want to do this kind of work. So we use Liscio. Why? Because it's all in the same place, and that's where they know where to get the bank statements and any documents the clients have given us. It's easy to delegate that way. So you have to think about your in-house hurdles that are not making a smooth process when you take on a cleanup engagement. There's also the security. How many people get random stuff emailed to them? And so we start right from the get-go and can explain that we have a secured platform where they can upload their information, and the team can see it, but only the team that's related to their account, because some people are concerned that the whole firm can see their account, and that's not the case. You want to have systems that are easy for the client to use. We'll talk about pricing, and then that has its own challenges and could be its own course, but I'll give some tips and tricks as we go through stage 1. And then, it's hard to estimate hours. We'll give you some ideas on what would be the best practice for that. But so this is all the things that have to happen. If you took a couple of hours, just sit through the engagements that you have had and the hurdles that you have had in both dealing with the client side of it and what have they kept telling you every single time, and then what are your in-house challenges and what moves can you make to fix those.
Michelle, we have a couple of questions that I think are relevant at this point. There are other questions which we'll save for later.
Okay.
Monica says, we give our clients, all of our cleanup clients, a list of documents, and we send this out by email and tell them the deadlines, and then we wait.
Okay, can I just pretend I'm in a room looking at them all?
Yeah.
And can we just get a little feedback on like how successful is that?
Yeah. So, and then she goes on to say, the clients, they often refuse to use my portal and send things in via text or by open email. So how have you solved that challenge? So that was the first question. And then okay. Maria has almost a very similar one. My clients text me the documents, but I hate that. It's so hard to get into a PDF. So it feels like there's a little bit of a heat around getting the documents. I know we really haven't gotten into
I love you guys. No, let's go right at it. Yeah, let's go right at it. Yeah. So this is what I believe. I believe that texting is not a business tool. And I will not accept your documents on a business tool because I'm really good at my job. So I just put it out there. So when I started at the beginning, that says when you're talking again and again, if you have a couple engagement meetings or meetings to get to know your client, you need to put that level of authority in there to say, we do not text in our firm. It is not a business tool. It is not delegatable. And it doesn't matter if they come back and say it's safe. You just say, we don't use texting to transfer documents. And then so in all of this, you're going to have to decide if you want to work with those people. And I would say a smooth process with a trusting client relationship moves faster, is more efficient, and you will get paid probably more money. So really think about, they're saying no to you and you're accepting that. right? And because you've already accepted the engagement. So you have to put out the rules of the road. Now, I will say there are times, I will admit, that if there's something I really want to do, I would let someone send me their Dropbox folder and I would transfer it to Liscio because I'm the owner of the firm. And I would say, well, my team, I don't want to share your Dropbox with my team. I don't want to be involved in all of that security craziness. I want those documents in our portals of where the files get uploaded, and I'll do it for them. And that gets back to client experience. Some people are not tech savvy. Some people aren't going to do it. Cleanups are one-time engagements. I need 24 of your bank statements. If that's what you need, and they say, well, I have them all in my Google folder. Oh, well, why don't you send me that? I'll just upload it for the team. Do you see how that is better than waiting 2 weeks and now you're jammed up with another job? So I really, really believe the reason we've been successful and is meeting people where they are, but not changing our in-house process. And I have given this a lot of thought that, I want everyone in Liscio and I want them all online and doing that. But I recognize that business owners are busy. If it's a one-time engagement or it's very infrequent, I find a way to meet them in the middle, get what I want, and then serve my team well because they're not lost in where to get things.
Yeah.
Allison,
Well,
what do you think
there's
about
just,
that?
yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think there's a couple of chat comments. They're really comments.
Okay.
Both Samantha and Ibanessa said that really setting the clear expectations and having the client understand what systems you're going to be using is really important from the outset.
Mhm.
And where you're bridging the gap is that you want to make sure that it's easy for the client. So that's really good.
Right, and I
Okay.
would say, yeah,
Yeah.
right, and it's not going to work for every firm. Our firm, I am able to do that or have one point person that can do that, and I'm not willing to change my in-house process for this one-off engagement that will continue to spiral that way. So you really have to set the rules up front. Okay, all right. So let's get started on the stages and see. Please keep your questions open, and then if you ask a question, maybe even give an example. Because that makes it fun when we're on the squares. Okay, here we go. So 3 stages of a cleanup process. First, I'm going to leave you with a picture, which is this. As we've been doing these, it made us really think about what's our process. And our process is threefold. There's the onboarding, like how do we get, so it's really like the sales process onboarding, and what happens there is just as important as the execution. And then what we've learned is there's a lot of times that there is a very poor delivery back to the client with that information. So we're going to talk about those 3 stages. I know that in this group doing the actual work, everyone is pretty savvy at that, but we're going to show some tips and tricks, but we're going to spend most of the time on the onboarding and the delivery because we're talking about the client experience and what we can do to improve our part in that. Okay. So part 1 is, so I have a rule that I will not take on your engagement, both long-term or short-term, unless I see your file and get to see. And I always say, I've recently heard myself say, I just want to like look at it and see if what you told me is really true. Because you're talking to somebody on the phone or look, would you mind if I looked at your file? If they say no, how can I give you a price? Like it's like a black hole, right? So reviewing the file, we're going to go through a Zoom call experience, how to get your client on Liscio and how we've been successful, and sending a proposal and the first set of documents. Okay. And I do want your opinion as we go through it on the challenges that you've had and how maybe this might make it better for you. So the first thing is the initial engagement. And I'll back up from here and say, sometimes people send me an email or they want to do a 15-minute call. Are we the right firm for them? Do we do cleanups? Do we work in QBO? We only work in QBO. So if you're a desktop client, I immediately pause and I say, I have colleagues that I can refer you to. You don't have to go back on the internet. We're a tight-knit group to kind of try to help people get to where they need to be. But we only work in QBO. So we are going to do the initial meeting. You're going to go over Zoom, and before the call, maybe they've sent me the file, but we're all professionals. I could work on the fly on a balance sheet for this high level, because what's my goal? Trust and showing you that I'm an expert and just talking to you. Because if you talk to people and ask them why a couple of times, they tell you a lot of things. So live Zoom calls, phone, okay. I like Zoom because you can see people's faces. So, so the true value of, right, is the trust. Now, the purpose of the 30-minute Zoom call is to show them like the high level problems. It doesn't mean that you can't then after that say, I really would like to take a stronger look and give you tangible items. And I know that there are different schools of thought where people want to do a diagnostic, like a very deep dive, and there is a charge for that. Sometimes there's a credit back for that. So take this idea and mold it to what works in your company, but it's very important to do. And so we're going to go through. I just want to check this one thing. Yes, let me just see on this one. Okay, so here's how a call goes. Everybody, think of a complete balance sheet. So you're my client, and or you're my prospect, and we have a Zoom, and they might not have shared the file with me. They might say, hey, I just think they just met me. Would you mind if you want to just do it on the screen and you drive and I'll talk, right? So that's very effective. So now where are we going to start? So the first, you look at the balance sheet and there's 5 bank accounts. One of them has 0. One of them has $2,012 in it. And one of them has like $50,000 in it, right? She's like, do you have 5 bank accounts? They're like, oh no, like we only have 1. Oh, okay. Do you see there how the piece of paper, the balance sheet, says that you have 5, and it says that there's money in the other ones? They're like, oh, we can fix that. Like that, it's fine. We can fix it, but do you see how your file is not together? Right? Does that feel calming to you for someone who doesn't know what they're looking at? Right? So the next one is, I always love this one. You can either do accounts receivable or undeposited funds first. If accounts receivable has a very large number, a natural question is, are you owed that much money in your company? Because business owners know what they're owed. They might not know where to find the list. And they're either going to say yes or no. If they say no, and there's like $40,000 in receivables, be like, so this says, and then you might pause and have them go to like accounts receivable summary. Be like, see, the computer says that we can fix that, but we have to ask you a few questions and find out how. Maybe you double counted something, right? And so now you're just quick going through the steps. One more, undeposited funds. Did you take all those checks to the bank? Because it says that you didn't. Oh, maybe you could get a duplicate. If you're duplicating sales revenue, that could be a problem, that you're overstating your revenue. You see? And so we have a series of questions. We've been doing this a long time, so we save them up. But I'm going to tell you, you don't need a worksheet. You've been doing this a long time. You can ask those natural questions off of the balance sheet, and you can get a ton of information. One, you can feel like if they're nice and you want to work with them, or if they're like, oh, their reaction to what you're asking is very telling, right? You're also showing all your knowledge, and you're being like super calm. Like, I know that I'm super calm. So you're just like, yeah, we can fix that. You know what? I'm going to take some time. Would you mind if we move further, could I take a look at your file? You could share it with me. I'll do a whole write-up on what we're going to fix. And and you can ease into it. So now you've gotten another, and you can charge for that, right? But you've gotten information. Now you're uncovering for yourself the big areas. But you know what? If you've done your homework on what's happened in the past, you're not surprised by anything you found. You might be like rolling your eyes that you have to fix it, but you're getting a sense of what you have to fix. It's no different than something you fixed last time from someone else, right? And then that gives us a chance. So as we're through the Zoom, if they're just like, yes, we want to go forward. Now, after the 30-minute, these don't all blend into 1 30 minutes, right? You're going to take the time to write a proposal. And you're going to write a proposal based on history, based on what you think it is. We do not charge by the hour, we charge by the project. And when you think about pricing, it is tough. But I'm going to tell you the reason people bill by the hour is they're afraid to put a big number on it, because it is a big number. And in the end, if you look back on all the ones you did, that's the number. And start there. And sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but most times, if you've been doing it a while, you can get it, or you can cap it this price for not more than this many hours, or some semblance of that. Happy to share ideas of more of that at another time.
Yeah, and Michelle, you had a great tip earlier that was a really good one when we were talking about it. Was price each year of cleanup separately, because that's the other thing, right? Like you can, like if it's multi-years, then you can say, all right, we'll do this for the, this will be this amount, this year will be this amount, and then they can understand that it's
right. And I agree with that. And so in this, what Allison's referring to is, we had an example that a guy, he wanted his file cleaned up pretty quickly from 18, 19, 20, and 21. Why? Why is that? So he didn't call me, his bookkeeper called me. And she was really interested in learning how to clean it up. So what I decided was, I'll just tell you. So each one of them, we decided was going to be $5,000 a year. And I was like, oh, that's a big number. I'm like, but that's the real number. So I'm just going to go with the real number. So I said, you know what? I'm going to say we'll do 18. And now here's what's going to happen for us. We're going to make all the rules. We're going to make it all easy so that we could do the other ones much faster, right? But I said, and then we'll just put in some time to train your bookkeeper. And then really, we'll just clean up the first one because that's your immediate need. And then we'll do the next ones. And you know what happened? I did an engagement for each one. And then we trained the bookkeeper because he just wanted it done.
Yeah.
We didn't want it
done right. And you had established that trust.
Right. So. And so start from where they are. And I don't know, somebody must have watched this, what's it called? 100 Days of Rejection, right? Some people might have watched the keynote. I forget where it was. Scaling New Heights, maybe. But the point is, don't make your ask too high. So if I did 4 years at once, my ask was going to be way too high. And he was just going to say no. So I was like, well, I'll just ask the one thing. And when we get to the end, I'll go as far as we can go. And then I'll ask another thing. And you know what? He said yes. And I was like, okay, so don't back down on your pricing. Go for what you're worth, and really believe in the work that you do, because we really do know how to fix these files in a way that most people don't. So that's my Go team. I just wanted to pause here because we're going to talk a little bit more about Liscio in the next slide about tasks. I'll walk through this. So one of the things we do right when we onboard someone is we're going to say, here's how we work. We have this secure communication platform that we're going to send you a login, and realize they're interested in using it the first time, at least, right? Because they want to give me all their information. So I'm like, someone's on the team's going to help you do it. We can be on the phone with you to do it. That's another way to get people to do it. We're going to have whoever said the full email of all the bullets, you know what I would do with that? I'll put that in, I'm going to do it later file. So think about your mortgage broker, you're trying to refinance your house. There's like a whole list of stuff. You're like, I can't do that today. So in here, we would add a test. So this screen is, I took it from my phone. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 panels from my phone, just so you could visually see what we're talking about. And so we've got the inbox, the tasks, the accounts, and the clients. So the inbox would obviously tell you if you had a notification, but we could put a task for each balance sheet item that we want information for. So naturally what people will do is what they have time for. If they have 5 minutes to do the Bank of America ones, they'll sit and do that today. And it's not daunting. Checkbox, done. What else do I have to do for Michelle when I sit at the desk? I could do these other things. Or I'm going to make an appointment with someone on my team to get it. Because to me, that 20 minutes, half hour that your team spends getting the information you want and is being helpful will make the rest of your work so much faster, and they trust you and they know that you care about their business. So different schools of thought on that, interested in people's thoughts. But so most of the things we use in the system is when it's on your phone, it's on the computer, but you can have an overview of somebody's company. You can have contacts, task lists, and messages. And then we can follow what people do. I will say when Alice and I first met, and I was a new adopter of Liscio, I wanted it all pure, and I was only going to keep my existing clients and put their stuff in. And I thought the one-off cleanup clients were going to mess it up. Crazy, right? And then one day I was like, I need all their files. It was the best experience because that person wanted a one-time engagement. I sent them the link while I was on the phone. Are you in? Can you see where you would upload your file? Or I might show them on the computer. So think about the other person on the other end of the computer, on the phone, what you want to share with them and how you want them to be successful. And then last thing I'll say about the onboarding is proposals and signatures. So Liscio has a function with e-signature. So if you're using a document that you can just, put in here to have a signature, that is a great place to do it. There's other systems, I guess now it's Ignition and Proposify. People are using different things, but if you can, consolidate some of the things that you're doing and move them through a system that you get a stronger touch point in the Liscio system, you'll have greater success. You should always explain your scope and your price. If you do not have an engagement for every single thing you're doing yourself a disservice, because the act of having an agreement shows that you are really serious about what you're doing and it is your profession. And I truly believe that. So don't jump right in, like slow this stuff down. Allison, I'm going to move on to stage 2 or good?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got a couple of questions coming in about, there's some Liscio specific ones, which I will
Okay.
answer, which I will try and quickly answer.
Okay.
So questions about recurring tasks. Yes, there are recurring tasks. And then what was the other one that came in? Sorry, it was, and is there a limit on memory? And I'm assuming that means storage. The cool thing about Liscio is you get unlimited clients and unlimited storage. And Michelle, you didn't mention this. But there was, to get really large files, you can get really, really big files.
I wasn't thinking of the conversion, but I'll say, so in some of the cleanups, I don't know if you guys experience, we do conversions from desktop to QuickBooks because we wouldn't do a cleanup in desktop. And so that's actually what happened with that first person is they had a desktop file they wanted to send me. You can't send that through email. So I'm like, oh, we have this cool thing. And it just like prompted me into the world of one-time engagements in Liscio. I was like, you send it to me, it's going to be safe, but it won't get jammed up. It'll just go right through. And he did it, I think, while I was on the phone because he didn't know how to do a backup. So I said, send the backup, we're going to look at it, we're going to convert it, and then we're going to clean up all the pieces in your sync. So sometimes you have those combo engagements where converting is the best thing because it's easy enough to disseminate to your team, and we don't work in desktop. So it was a fun project for us. Okay, we have to keep moving. So doing the actual work. So in my company, we use ClickUp as a project manager. It's a pretty popular software, but it is in line with task management system, workflow system, aligns with Asana. And I'm not, maybe QBO does some of it. Some of the other systems do that, but we have built it out to be a project manager for all of our clients, regardless of what type of engagement there are. We put the client-facing tasks in Liscio, and we list them all out, and we get a really good response from that because it's short. I would not do all of those lists. It goes to the bottom of people's file, and when they sit down at their desk, they don't know where to find it. The documents are all, so there are tags. It works on a tag system, and so they're all by date, balance bank accounts, or by date credit cards. Very easy, very good resolution. So nothing ever it just pops up. It's just the best resolution to look at all those statements and kind of move through the things that you need. And then, we're talking about everything on the balance sheet needs to be verified. And I keep saying that I know you are all the best of the best. You'd be surprised at how people only reconcile what they've been giving a piece of paper for. So you need to verify every single thing on that balance sheet. And if the owner doesn't know what it is, maybe it's not true. And so we have a system where we have a couple of checklists, and it goes down each level of, it's a template. And then when we get the actual file, we update it for everything on that client's file. And every single thing needs to be addressed on the balance sheet. If you're not doing your cleanups that way, take a different look to make sure, because things get missed, or things are like, I didn't know I had to reconcile that one. So the balance sheet is your starting point, and then the profit and loss statement is really for the verification after all of that's done. If you have a clean balance sheet, why? Because the balance sheet's from forever. And that's a good term to use with your clients. The balance sheet is from forever. And so usually when I first start out talking about it, I say, remember the day you started your company and you put $100 in the bank account? Well, that was $100 in equity. See how it balanced? That's like a pretty good visual on like how it balanced. I'm like, and then there's all these other things, and you can explain it in English on, then you had sales, then you had expenses, then you had a net income, and at the end of the year, it went over here. And that's your retained earnings from forever. So get your pitch, your elevator pitch on how to explain a balance sheet in English. Tell it to your teenage kid or your mom, like practice. And it's not that hard, right? Right? That's pretty good, Allison, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
So you're right. And here's a great word to use for, why are you doing it? We already have a bank feed. Well, because we're verifying the integrity of the data. That's a great phrase. Write it down. Verifying the integrity of the data, and I can verify that the work we have done is correct. Okay. So we're going to move forward on. These are going to be. Let's see if I do have some examples. So the client provides the documents. The staff, they just know they get assigned that cleanup project. All the information there, they are on the team. They can communicate through Liscio. And what the client realizes, so if someone mentions, they don't get back to me in there. So if you sent me an email and Lisa on my team was working on it, now I cut and paste whatever they sent me. I copy it, I paste it as a message, and I reply to them in Liscio and copy Lisa. The more you do that, they realize they can get my attention if they're over here. If they're over here, I've gotten a lot of reply alls, and it's a lot. So my goal is to have a 0 inbox. It's not always achievable, but I get close most weeks. So think about that. You have to train them, and they will do it. The tips and tricks, we use the reclass feature in QBO as a review. I like it a lot, but while you can reclass things from there, you can also have a pretty good review if you're looking at the whole year and just kind of scan through the balance sheet and know where you want to go, see if the vendors are all consistent. And so there's a couple other review tools that have come out that can help you do that. But so one of the other things I've been teaching the team is pull up a P&L. And so if I knew that you were a company that only did sales receipts or only took revenue by sending an invoice, then if you ran a P&L for the year and opened the transactions, if you saw anything that wasn't an invoice transaction type, those would be your problem children. And they're probably deposits that don't belong there, right? So that's a trip. bank register, we use the filter function a lot to help you look for duplicates. The search button is really powerful if you're looking for duplicates too, but I like the filter on the bank register because then you can like see it as if it was like a checkbook. Anybody have a good tip on the actual work? Because I really want to make sure we cover the end.
We didn't have, well, we didn't have any tips on yet. Tips aren't coming in yet, but Mary was asking a question about, can you create a template of tasks and copy it to new contacts? Yes, you can. In Liscio, we have templates for everything pretty much. So you
Yeah.
could just create those. And then Wes had a really good question about, does Liscio not replace the need for ClickUp? And I said, no, I think depending on your practice, it could if you're a solo practice or if you have a very simple thing. But can you maybe comment on why you like to use ClickUp to sort of organize your back office work and then Liscio for the front office for client facing?
So I like ClickUp because it is all encompassing, and I like Liscio because I only want to give the tasks that the client works on. And so I can see where you would think that, because the cleanup, there's more for the client to do than for we do a lot of comprehensive bookkeeping. So we do most of the things, and we might want one or two things from them. It really makes it uncluttered in terms of what we need from them and how we want to communicate with them. In ClickUp, we can comment back and forth amongst the team, and there are often notes that are just, for our own internal use on, hey, Jill, here's where you got to get this file from, or let me pop this up. And I like the data integrity of like, we only have our staff in ClickUp because we have a lot of different things in there. And then we use Liscio, we know, because I know who's on the client team who can see all that information and where it goes. So we have better success. I see great success in the messaging. Some people commingle the tasks and the messaging. I'm like, hey, can you send me this file? And I'll just pop it right up on the, like a reply to an email as a message. But the great thing is that file is now filed exactly where it should be. So somebody sent a bank statement, or they sent a loan document that we've been trying to get that's not, a monthly occurrence, or they bought something and they want to show you the receipt for it. We all use a lot of different tools, but Liscio has a place in that stack, especially for financial institution documents and for things that you're verifying on the balance sheet that come from.
It just keeps it very organized, doesn't it? And your staff and your client can find things super easily. I think that's the other thing, is that they can just search really quickly and find it all in one place. And the more places that you have things spread over, the harder it is for staff and the harder it is for clients as far as documents go.
And then the other thing we use it for is month-end communication. And by doing that, you get an extra touch on the client. So we're able to say, hey, Joe, we finished their books this week. We've attached a PDF. I know that you can pull your reports through QBO if you'd like assistance with that, because QBO has the drill down function, but we file and document for every client at the end of the close. Here is your set of PDFs, which we're going to talk about, and here's where you find them in QBO. And these are the three things that are still outstanding. We still need to fix that uncategorized, or here's a note for you if you haven't, and then we save that note for follow-up for the next round to improve on. But we do have an end date and send of that, but it creates the touch point, because what I'm finding as a remote firm, invisible and going well can work backwards for you, like you're not doing their stuff. So you need to have positive touch points on what we're doing for you and what it says and why it's great. Right? So, all right, we're going to move forward. So
and I'm going to just keep answering questions in the chat, and I'll call out and let me know, because we've got 15 minutes left, so we want to cover more ground. I'm going to go,
but it's going to carry forward from what we just talked about. So I am surprised at when I ask a question live, and maybe you guys could, send in your comments. I said, well, what happens when you're done with the cleanup? Oh, well, we just send them a note that we're done. What? okay, they didn't know how to use QuickBooks to begin with. So let's go back to the beginning call. If you found out that their bookkeeper, so in my example with the 4 years, if you found out that they didn't really have experience with QuickBooks, you should be adding an extra service of, we're going to offer you a training package, and we're going to train you for a couple hours, and then we're going to give you 30 days worth of service, email, questions, you can call me whenever you need to. And then we're going to have a 1 to 2 hour wrap up, and it's going to be this price, right? Because you've already acknowledged that I'm going to give you back your file, and I hope that you keep it on track. So you can sell that at the beginning or the end, but if you realize they're either novice or don't have anyone, you need to wrap that into the end of your engagement to say, I'm going to deliver it to you after it's done, and then we're going to have a training session so that you know how to use it and keep it up to date, because you've just invested all this money in your financial system. Do you see how that sounds better? They don't know what they need. They don't know what to ask you. They don't know you know how to do training, which, I mean, it's sort of silly, but you really think it through. If you spent this money to fix your own firm books by someone else, because you know you're all behind, because we're all like what, the cobbler's shoes, but you so if you paid money to do that, you'd want to make sure you could keep it up to date. So we're not doing that. This is a huge, huge problem, and you're leaving money on the table from the carry on. And when you carry on, you get to know people better. And then you get to know what their next need is, because what will happen is when they see what is possible, you have another service you're willing to sell them. And we are not thinking that way. I'm thinking that way now, but okay, here we go. So we have another Zoom call for those of you that don't like to talk to your clients or your people that you don't really know. Have a Zoom call. It could be someone on your team, it could be you, but you need to say, here's what we did. It's very similar to the first call, because you're going to call up the balance sheet and you're going to talk about the things that you did. You do not need a lengthy report. No one wants a lengthy report. They just want to know that you fixed it. They don't really even know what you did, but you're going to tell them what you did and why it was good. Why I fixed your AR, and this is the true picture of how much money you have made this year. And I'm going to show you how to keep that up, right? So the other thing is, while you're doing this, what were you building? So in ClickUp, we were actually building the bookkeeping monthly task list, because we had to do all the things we would normally do. So we have a list. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to give it to them for free, because that's, people like things they can take away. I made this for you. How long did it take? Well, I already did most of it. I made it pretty. I gave it to him, right? So I'm going to show it to you. And then we do, so while I was building the file in QuickBooks, you all know that there's a custom reporting section. Most people that you got these files from probably don't use that section. So along the way, I just made my own files. Now, you can say, Michelle, there's a template for that. They could just use those. Well, what if I just made you these 7 reports? And then when I got on the phone with you, I have them right there, so I can say, hey, Joe, when you go in your QuickBooks, if you just go here, these are the reports you need to look at. And here's what it's going to take. It's going to say, if you have another bookkeeper, it's going to tell you that they're all up to date, because this is the report you need to check your bookkeeper with. And if you did year over year, and then you go through them on your half-hour call. And this is what this report tells you. This is my favorite report, is the P&L by month. Owners love this because they know how they make money and they know how they spend money, and they know what's out of place. And if you approach them as solid business owners that you can talk to about that, then you're going to get that trust. Like, Joe, I know you can do this. And let me show you how this works. I want you as a business owner, you need to look at this every month. You need to make sure that the reconciliations are done, like verifying to the outside source. Look at these different reports, and if you want help, I'll tell you the important numbers to look at, right? So you go through them, because you just spent all this time. Look how all these people must owe you. And then so now I have this monthly bookkeeping task list. I'm going to give it to them. This is what either you or your bookkeeper need to do every month. We also offer training. So if we haven't done it in the beginning, we're going to do it at the end. But I want you to give it a running start. I can do it. Great. So you know what you're going to do after you get off the call? is a couple weeks from now, you're going to send them an email. You don't have to call them this time. You can just email them and say, hey, just wondering how you're doing. Do you need any help? Do you have any questions? It's okay to answer a free question, because then he's going to say, you know what? I hate this. How much would it be if you did it? I don't know. We should talk about it.
Yeah.
Is that resonating for people?
Well,
it's hard when you can't see people, right?
It is super resonating. All of the comments that are coming in right now are
Yeah.
like, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. What great tips and stuff.
Okay,
I
good,
think the
good.
thing is that people don't realize that a cleanup job is an opportunity for you to get to know the client, as you said,
Yeah.
like understand how you want to work with. Dan is just chiming in, resonating big time. You also get a chance to actually clean up their books. And so what do you get? You get a set of clean books, right? That's really awesome. You
Yeah.
also know that you've got a client that's going to pay your bills. They're going to pay you, right?
Mhm.
And then they also see the value of the work because you've trained them to do it and they realize how hard it is. It's like this quadruple win, right?
Right. And
So
so,
there's
well,
questions coming in about pricing. So maybe you can kind of shift to on this piece here. How do you,
okay.
because people are hungry to know about pricing and they're also hungry to know about the training pricing and then also this outsource accounting pricing. So
Okay,
pricing's
I'll
a
do my
hot spot.
best. Okay, so first let me say, I'll challenge all of you, because we're at the end of the year. If you've done a cleanup this year or last year, your task to leave this webinar is to email those clients and see how they're doing. How their books, do they need any review? Do they need any help? Don't leave it on the table. If you like them, right? If they just didn't do it and you're exhausted by it, then don't. But think about, you all have one or two. Call them up, get ahead of it, and get them on the list. They can't come first because they haven't been with you all year, but figure out where they fit in. And then you might get them really on an ongoing because you cared. So pricing, I'll give a couple tips. I think you should take your cleanup projects, like I said in the beginning. It is a process and there is a standard. Don't say to yourself, do everything that's a standard and then have a little list over here that's what's unique to that type of client. It could be, well, for e-commerce, these are the bigger problems. For service businesses, this tends to be a problem. And make your list. And it's gonna be a process that improves over time, but just start with, I did all these cleanups. These were the issues. I could have got ahead of it if I just framed it against the balance sheet. Have the process. Then what did you charge for those? If for people that are charging by the hour, band them into the degrees that they were and come up with your gut price. That's one way to do it. There's a million ways and none of them are right. It's what you feel your value was at the time that you did it, or did you do it to learn something to get a stronger value the next time you do it? So I have different ways that I think about it. If it's your neighbor down the street, it's their new business and you just want to do it, then do it. Then that's not your marker of how much it was worth, but it was valuable to you to do it. So money isn't everything. There's always other things to learn. The other way to do it is to come up with your hourly rates and gauge. You could do each balance sheet, each credit card, anything on the balance sheet, you could do an hour each thing times the number of months. Those are the estimated hours. Is that random? No, it's a way. So have your method and know the next time, did it work or not? For that giant job, we did put in each occasion, we banded, it could be 40 to 60 hours. And I was willing, if I was wrong in the 50 to 60, I was willing to be okay with that, because he gave me the money up front and I get paid up front. Because it's on the internet and you can't take it back. And if they don't want to do it that way, every now and then, if it's a large number, I do half and half or that kind of thing. I don't do it by the hour in an invoice. I want to trust myself and get better at it. Then I think it cheapens it. That's my view on that pricing. I learned this from a class that I took about productizing your services. And the way you should think about it is, and I'm thinking about this for next year about like what we sell and how to explain it to people, but it's the one we've used a lot and it doesn't always have the same price, is you're going to get an hour and a half in the beginning You're going to get 30 days in the middle, and you're going to get an hour and a half at the end to teach you what it is you want to learn. It is not a course in QBO. It's, Michelle, I need to learn invoicing and I need your help with these 3 things. And could I go for it? It's a one-time engagement that lasts 30 days. And we set up the beginning meeting and the ending meeting, and they can email one of their whoever they get assigned to in the course of those other weeks to answer questions. They can't have hours of calls. If they want to break it, so I always say it shouldn't really be more than 4 hours. If they want to have an hour call once a week, I would be okay with that. And we've put as low as 375, we put as high as 650 to just kind of throw it out there. And people are like, okay, thanks. And you know what happens? Then they say we need a deeper engagement. So give people little nuggets of training, or let me take a look at this one thing, make your ask smaller if you are more comfortable that you want to know more about them. So that's why people are doing these diagnostics and putting a price on it. They're like, all right, I'm going to spend like 5 hours on it. I'm going to write a really detailed report and tell them everything I'm going to do. And they might go shop that to someone else, but you'll get paid for it. Some people credit that back to their job and some people don't. So there was one more on pricing. Allison.
Yeah, people are, there's just a lot of chat about, hourly versus fixed. And, Carla chimes in, I've seen some cleanup projects priced at twice the rate of monthly recurring bookkeeping. And so
Some
there's
people
just
do that. Yeah, I've
different
seen
ways.
people say, yeah,
Mhm.
so I've said, yeah, I can speak to that in two separate things. Some people say, we're going to take on the ongoing bookkeeping. You came to me in the middle of the year. I don't even trust what was done before. So they didn't even come for a cleanup. They're just like, could you do my books? And they're like, okay, we charge $1,000 a month. So there's 7 months ahead of you. That's $7,000. People are being successful with that. You have to do what is going to work with you. It work for you, and it could be relative to sales. It could be a percentage of sales. So go and talk to your colleagues. There are plenty of pricing things out there, and we could all debate our success stories and our failures. But the point is that pricing is about what you feel your value was and what you feel good about, and you're going to miss some. And that's okay, because you're going to get better. But keep track of it and look at it as a process, and you can put a system around it. In our firm where we've moved to is I took 3 of those different ones. I took like percentage of sales, number of hours, I think the bookkeepers times hours. And then I did even a transaction one, which kind of came out of some Darren Root stuff. And now I use them as a band. And I just go, oh, well, if I did these 3 things, it's pretty quick. Like, oh, okay. Sometimes they come out all the same. Sometimes one's way an outlier. I'm like, all right, that's the price. Because I have the history of my clients. So I don't want to run out of time, but I just want to say a couple of things about the technology, if that's okay. So technology really helps. And, if you haven't taken a look at Liscio, definitely speak with Allison and her team, and just at least give yourself the option to look through the demo and all that it is capable of doing. When I looked at it first, I was looking through it as a narrow lens of my existing client base for accounting services. I think it has a lot of opportunity, especially if you don't have a file share system. And that's the brink I was on. I didn't have a file share system. I didn't want to have a multiple system. Liscio has been very helpful for that for us, and we have embraced the file share system to get documents from other people's places to ours, and people will adopt it. If it's not the owner, it will be someone on their team that's maybe more tech savvy. So give them the chance to do that, and don't give up on them. You got to teach them, and you have to be their tech friend. Take that 15 minutes to have someone on your team get on the phone, help them get logged in, help them put it on their phone. I find the phone really helpful because I put the notifications on my phone and not on my computer. So I can see it flash like, oh, I gotta go check that because that one looks important today. And so when people see you being responsive, you're going to do that. My team loves it because we are a Slack firm, and they just lit up when we went to the demo. I let them go without me and just go talk to Chris and see what it was all about back then. And they're like, oh yeah, I just see how this is going to get us out of email, and it's saving the team and it's keeping them organized. So really go take a look at them. Next steps. If you want to take a look at some of the checklists we have, We put them out there for $25. Happy to send you. They're in ClickUp. They're a format you could use. We keep improving them every single time we do them. And thank you very
And
much.
that is it. We flew through everything.
I did.
We did. No, but there's so much great information here. So everyone, I'm gonna end the webinar now, but we will send you out an email tomorrow. Watch for it because there'll be a number of things in it, including a link to to purchase Michelle's if you're using ClickUp, her checklists and her ClickUp templates. And then also an invitation to join the Grove. If you are not on the Grove yet, that is our we call it the knowledge base camp for accountants, bookkeepers, and tax pros. And you can learn all kinds of things, including things like this. So Michelle, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. I always learn so
So
much.
fun.
I love talking with you. All right, I'm going to end it now. Bye,
All right,
everyone.
everybody. Have a great day.